maybe I could just apologise for the fact that we're not using quite as many different instruments as we had intended. The church looks beautiful with all the flowers in here, but unfortunately the spray, which keeps them looking so beautiful, is not very good for the strings on our stringed instruments. And so we've had to not use quite a lot of them. Our next piece is a piece of dance music, very much the sort of thing that you might have heard had you been in Lapley, come to a battle perhaps, or a siege in the 14th century. so beautifully, to imagine the past as a wonderful, peaceful time. But unfortunately, it wasn't like that, at least not for the monks of Lapley. Their relationship with the people in the manor was always rather bad. And in fact, there are a whole series of records of monks being recalled to Reims because they'd fallen out with the locals and come to blows, and all sorts of nasty things happened. And one of the main ringleaders in causing problems with the prior, I hate to say, was the vicar. And there are lots of wonderful records of disagreements between them. In fact, on one occasion, the vicar had a warrant drawn up for the arrest of the prior. Unfortunately, that's the only record there is. We don't know what happened. So whether he was ever arrested, we don't know. But we do know that the priors weren't always terribly wonderful men. For one, in the 14th century, about the time of the piece that you just heard, one of the priors was given a pardon by the king for all his homicides and robberies. So goodness knows what he had been doing to the poor inhabitants. Someone who would have known a lot about this would have been the composer of our next two pieces, the French composer Machot, who had a connection with this place because he was one of the canons of Reims, the mother church, and no doubt he would have been there in the meetings when all the reports of the terrible goings on at Lapley drifted back. allies had were, of course, that they were foreign and they were a long way from home, and there wasn't anyone around who was likely to give them much help. Most of the powers in England seemed to be more interested in what they could get off them. And of course, every time there was a war with France, then the priory was seized, and the king took the money from it for a bit. And eventually, of course, this couldn't go on forever, and there was a big war with France. Henry V went off, and of course we had a war with France, and Henry decided that he didn't want these alien priories anymore, and he had them dissolved. So in 1414, the monks were thrown out, and the priory here was given to Tong, which was an English monastic foundation just up the road. The next piece we're going to perform, in fact, celebrates that event, the Battle of Agincourt and victory over the French.
We
Tong College, the monastery or the monastic foundation that Lapley passed to in 1414, had been set up a few years earlier as a foundation for the maintenance of a warden, 4 chaplains, 2 clerks, and 13 infirm old men. I gather the 13 infirm old men were just to make it respectable. The main purpose was to trade for the soul of the lady who set it up. The year after that, Tong were given the authorization to set up a vicarage at Lapley, and it's probably at that stage really that the parish and the church become connected, and at that point probably this became the parish church. It was a very peaceful period because they were English, I suppose, and because they were close, because they had friends in powerful places. There wasn't a lot of point in having a riot if the monks stole bits of your land, because you wouldn't get away with it. So they didn't try, and it was all very peaceful. And so Lapley settled down, probably for the first time in several hundred years, into a fairly peaceful medieval method of existence. The next piece has absolutely no connection with that, but it seemed like a nice piece to end the first half of our programme. It had to happen. I have to play this instrument. Piece. Oh, well, in the course of this group of pieces, sorry, my marvellous planning has collapsed. In the course of this next group, I'm going to play you this instrument, which is a drum horn, and you'll hear it as quite a loud noise because it doesn't it isn't quite as muted in this building as it usually is in a room with carpets and curtains. I have to mute it with a piece of tissue paper.
I should actually have been playing a stringed instrument in this piece, but as you've already heard, the weather's been against it. So I'm playing a bass recorder instead.
instrument John is playing, by the way, is a rebec. As you can probably hear, it's an ancestor of the violin. It has a shaped carved back, which probably developed from some sort of animal shell, maybe a tortoise shell or something of that sort. But unlike the violin, it's only got 3 strings. It takes quite a lot of playing to get all the notes out of it. Yes. Dispossessed. Now the piece that I mistakenly announced. more towards the present. With the dissolution of the monasteries, with Tong College in particular in 1547, for the first time for several hundred years, the lord of the manor became a secular character. First time since 1060-something that the church hadn't owned the manor. It was purchased by a London lawyer who, it seems, bought it as an investment and sold it on again a few years later. It then stayed in the family of another lawyer, and right up to the early part of the 20th century, when it really lapsed. No doubt there's a lord of the manor somewhere, but he no longer has much in the way of rights to claim. But it's unlikely that there was a presence in the parish of a lord of the manor. Most of the lords lived in London and presumably had bailiffs here, just appearing very occasionally. You may be interested to know about two famous ladies of the manor. There's not a lot known in this, but way back in 1050-something, the lord of the manor was one Leofric, who was Earl of Chester. And his wife was quite well known for her activities in commentary, one Lady Godiva. It's not known whether she practiced the same practices in Lapley. It would be nice to find a record somewhere, but it's unfortunately not. Much later, though, just after the Civil War, there was a lady, Susanna Biddulph, who was the wife of the current lord of the manor, and she was a London socialite, and was her character was used by Farquhar in his play The Beaux' Stratagem, and she became the model of the original Lady Bountiful that sort of went into current speak. So the original Lady Bountiful was actually a lady of the manor of Lapley, although it's not known whether she ever lived here, and looking at the church there is not a lot of evidence of her bounty. The next two groups of pieces, first of all a group of lute songs from the period just before the Civil War, and then a contemporary sonata, part of the new Baroque style, which was developing in Italy. fortified. At some stage, the moat, which you can still see traces of around in the area, was dug, and obviously the place was turned into something of a stronghold. The details of the battle that took place are quite well known. I think you might like to hear the account that was written at the time. It's a biased account, of course. This comes from a pamphlet that is headed Court Intelligence, so it tells you straight away that you're the wrong side. We received good news from Colonel Levison, the vigilant governor of Dudley Castle, Staffordshire, who on Thursday the 1st of December sent Captain Heveningham to Lapley House to give them an alarm or to do some better service on the rebels in that garrison. The captain, having dealt with one Master Collier, servant to the owner of the house, to assist and direct him in his design, about 12 of the clock at night, marched privately from Chillington 3 miles to Lapley. Being come to Lapley, they began to rear ladders to the court wall, which gave the rebels an alarm. Notwithstanding, the captain and 6 more got up the ladder and let down into the yard, where they passed some blows against 15 rebels, for so many were then on guard in the gatehouse. But 2 or 3 of the rebels being slain, and as many hurt, gave the captain time to open the gate and let the rest of his musketeers into the yard, who received some shot from the rebels from out of the windows, but without loss, except only for 1 hurt. This being done, the captain reared ladders to the windows, and most valiantly entered in despite of the rebels, about 70 in number, whom we took prisoner, with all their arms, ammunition, and baggage. 12 musketeers kept the garrison in the church adjoining, who, hearing the house already taken, yielded themselves prisoners, and were, with their fellows, sent all prisoners to Chillington, which was also lately a garrison of the rebels, till Colonel Levison took it by assault, and all the rebels in it prisoners. But the rebels at Stafford, hearing that their 2 garrisons at Lapley House and the church were both lost, and being not full 4 miles from the place, came next day, which was Friday last, full of hopes and revenge to do something before His Majesty's soldiers could well be settled, and to that purpose brought 400 horse and foot, 2 pieces of cannon, and a case of drapes before the house, where a sergeant major approaching with a petard to force the gate was seasonably shot and carried off by the soldiers. This somewhat allayed their heat, till intelligence was brought that Colonel Levison was coming with 100 horse to their relief, whereupon the rebels suddenly fired the barns full of corn, and afterwards stole away in the covers of the night, yet could not make such speed but that Colonel Levison overtook them, killed some of them, took others prisoners, and made them leave behind them one of their pieces of cannon, which he brought back to Lapley, where it is ready for them.
such to learn, sweet boy, what is to love? Do good things thy thought on me, and thou shalt quickly prove. Little suit at first shall win, way to thy abashed desire. But then will I head thee in, salamander like with fire. But then will I head thee in, salamander like with fire. With thee dance I will and sing, and thou fond darlings bear. We the groovy hills will climb, and play the wantons there. Other whiles will gather flowers, lying dying on the grass, and those our delightful hours, full of waking dreams shall pass, and those our delightful hours, full of waking dreams shall pass. When thy joys were thus at height, my love should turn from thee, old acquaintance then should grow, a stranger straw should be. 20 rivals thou shouldst find, breaking all their hearts for me. When to all I'll prove more kind, and more forward than to thee. When to all I'll prove more kind, and more forward than to thee. Thus thy silly youth enraged would soon my love defy, but alas, poor soul, too late, clipped wings can never fly. Those sweet hours which we had passed, called to mind thy heart would burn, and couldst thou fly ne'er so fast, they would make thee straight return, and couldst thou fly ne'er so fast, they would make thee straight return.
Before we play this, could I just say on behalf of the group how pleased we are to be associated with this appeal to raise money to repair the roof of the church here. You've probably gathered from the little bits of history that we've thrown in that the church here has never really been particularly a loved building, and every attempt that has ever been made throughout the last 800 years has met with considerable opposition. As you heard, in the Middle Ages it was murder and violence. I believe in the 19th century there was rioting in the streets when they attempted to raise money to repair the church. Can I just wish the vicar more success this time?